Hello everyone. So, there's this common misconception I see that the only useful cameras in FNAF 1 are East Hall Corner and Pirates Cove. And while that is the case in 420, I would argue that if you put Freddy Fazbear at a much lower AI level, let's say 7 or 4 if you're playing on night 6, I would argue that it doesn't really have to be this way. On AI levels that are lower than 10, I feel like you could feasibly stall Freddy on earlier cameras, leading to a game that has a much better camera balance than the 420. And I'm here to rank the cameras in FNAF 1 from the worst to the best, of course, if you're not using the 420 strategy. So let's begin. Starting with our F tiers, the worst camera in the game has got to go to West Hall Corner. So why is this one bad? Well, here's the thing. This is one of a few cameras in the game where only Bonnie goes into. And since only Bonnie goes into them, that means Freddy doesn't go into them. And since stalling Freddy is a very big thing in the, in FNAF 1, yeah, the cameras that only Bonnie goes into are pretty much useless. Why West Hall Corner is the worst camera in the game, though, is because there's a very rare chance you can summon Golden Freddy if you stare at this camera. Now, of course, it's very rare. In fact, it's a massive pain in the ass to even do. My God, you'd have better luck finding a needle in a giant haystack than summoning Golden Freddy in FNAF 1. Jesus, man. That being said, the thing is that by not using this camera, you go from a very low chance of summoning Golden Freddy to no chance of summoning Golden Freddy. Honestly, that's the one thing that prevents... The fact that Golden Freddy is so rare is the one thing that prevents West Hall Corner from going to straight G tier. That being said, the fact that it can happen means that it is pretty low. It has to be the worst on the list. At number 10, we have the supply closet. So, here's the thing. This is another camera that only Bonnie goes into. However, you also can't summon Golden Freddy, so this ranks above. Man, the bars we are setting here, man, Jesus Christ. At number 9, we have Backstage, and the reason why this Bonnie-only camera goes above the other two is because, I don't know, that one, like, screenshot, that one time where Bonnie goes into the camera it's cool, but we're not ranking how the animatronics look in the cameras. We're ranking them by, how useful they are. Jesus, man. But I guess I need some reason to put Backstage above the others. Trust me, it's going to get a lot more interesting. We have now entered the D tier. Now, there's only one D tier, and that is West Hall. Now, this is the last camera on the list that Bonnie goes into, but Freddy does not. That being said, the reason why this camera is in D tier, not F tier, is because, well, Foxy. If Foxy has left Pirates Cove, well, the thing is that you check West Hall to get him to run, and yes, make sure to close the left door before you do that, and from there, get Foxy to run, and then send him back to Pirates Cove. Other than that, yeah, this camera is not really that useful. So the reason this is put into D tier is because this is a camera that you will rarely use. if at all. And that's why it ranks so low. Entering our C tier, and this is the first camera on this list that Freddy actually goes to. This camera is East Hall Corner. So the thing is that if you are doing 420 strategy, this is the only camera that is useful aside from Pirate's Cove. However, outside of 420 strategy, I'm gonna be honest, this camera isn't really that useful, in the sense that, yeah, of course, thing is that Freddy is very close to your office, and the thing is that you gotta close the right door every time you want to check Pirate's Cove, which does use up quite a bit of power. Now, if you're on 420, where stalling Freddy is practically impossible, then yeah, you are pretty much forced to resort to this. That being said, if you can stall Freddy if Freddy is on lower AI levels, yeah, I don't think you want Freddy near your office. You know? I'm just saying. Of course, if Chica happens to go to East Hall Corner, then yeah, you know that, oh no, I gotta check the lights. But Chica, if she's in East Hall Corner, she's very close to your door, it's not that helpful. I feel like Freddy going to East Hall Corner is more of a punishment for not being able to stall Freddy effectively, you know what I mean? Unless you're on 420, where that's pretty much impossible. I feel like outside of 420, when Freddy's on lower AI, you want to keep Freddy as far away from East Hall Corner as possible. So yeah. Overall though, yeah, of course, if Freddy does go to East Hall Corner, well, tough shit, you're gonna have to check that now. And I guess having the knowledge that Chica is nearby when she enters the East Hall Corner is neat, but having to close the right door to check Pirate's Cove is a bit annoying. So that's why this camera goes into C tier. Entering our B tiers now, the next camera we've got here is East Hall. Now, of course, Freddy goes into here, so if Freddy happens to go into East Hall, well, yeah, stall Freddy there. And yes, Chica also goes there, so if Chica happens to go into East Hall, you know that Chica is pretty much nearby, yada yada yada. That being said, I do think East Hall is a bit close to East Hall Corner, so yeah, I have to rank it at the bottom of B tier because of that. That being said, if Freddy does get this far, well, the fact that Chica can go to East Hall Corner and if she does, you have the knowledge that she's nearby is helpful. So yeah, I have to put this here. At number 5, we have the restrooms. Now, if Freddy happens to, move past the dining area, we will get to that. Well, yeah, the restrooms are the next best step. And yeah, Chica also goes to the restrooms, so if Chica goes to the restrooms, you don't have to check the right lights, the right door lights. So yeah, that's great. Now, of course, if Freddy leaves the dining area, this also means you lose the advantage of the dining area where Bonnie can go to that camera and you don't have to check his light, but at least you still have that advantage with Chica going forward. Of course, this is the camera you want to avoid Freddy going to as long as you possibly can, but it doesn't hurt if he does go to that camera. So yeah, that's why restrooms goes into number 5. Entering our A tiers now, we have number 4, the show stage. Now, of course, this is the starting point for Freddy, Bonnie, and Chica. And yes, checking this camera is useful at the start of the game, because, well, of course, you don't have to check their door lights until they move, Bonnie and Chica. That being said, once Bonnie and Chica moves, there's not really a point of, like, the benefit of stalling Freddy at show stage is that, yeah, it's the furthest camera away from the East Hall corner. But you don't get the advantage of Bonnie or Chica, you know, regularly appearing on this camera to, you know, to temporarily not have to check their door lights. So that's something. So yeah, once Bonnie and Chica leave, I typically just let Freddy into the dining area, which we'll get into, for the advantage of Bonnie or Chica entering the dining area. Yeah, I'll get into more of that. That being said, this is a good camera to check early games, so that's why it enters number 4. At number 3, we have the kitchen. Now, this might be a bit high. Here's the thing. While, yeah, the kitchen, you can't actually see what's in the kitchen, I feel like with the kitchen, well, okay, let's get this out of the way. If you're checking Freddy there, there's no, like, additional advantage you get with, you know, Bonnie and Chica, you know, or Chica in this case. You know, it's like when Chica enters, she bangs pots and pans. Like, if you hear pots and pans, you don't have to check her door light anyway. So you do lose that extra advantage of Chica entering a camera that you're stalling Freddy and therefore don't have to check her door light. That being said, I just think the fact that when Chica, you know, enters the kitchen and bangs pots and pans, that being your cue to not check her door, I think that's just pretty cool. So, and I feel like that makes the kitchen a number 3. At number 2, we have Pirate's Cove. Now, this is easily the best camera that Freddy does not enter. And the reason for that is because, well, this is a camera where you check how far Foxy has gone. Even in 420 mode, yeah, you still need to check Pirate's Cove here and there to see the progress of Foxy. He has 3 stages, of course, before, you know, he has left Pirate's Cove, in which you need to check the West Hall in order to get him to run. And yeah, he will be back at Pirate's Cove. Honestly, I think this just goes without saying. Let's get into our number 1. For the number 1 best camera in the game, we have our 1S tier, the dining area. Now, the reason why I consider the dining area the best camera in the game is because, well, the thing is that while dining area is a bit closer to East Hall Corner than show stage, I would honestly argue that stalling Freddy in dining area is better than stalling Freddy in show stage. Why? Well, it's as simple as if Bonnie or Chica are visible in the dining area, not only are you stalling Freddy there is helpful, like, in general, you also don't have to check Bonnie or Chica's door light while you're stalling Freddy, which is very helpful, I must add. Now, of course, when Freddy leaves the dining area, you lose the advantage of, of Bonnie entering a camera that Freddy can go into, which means you only are able to do that with Chica. So yeah, you obviously want to keep Freddy in the dining area as much as possible. It doesn't hurt, of course, when Freddy leaves the dining area. But that being said, I do think keeping Freddy in dining area is really good. And the fact that, you can avoid, you can temporarily not have to check Bonnie or Chica's door lights, as well as the fact that you know that they're relatively a bit far from your office as well. I think that's just very helpful information. And I think that just makes that, as well as the fact that the dining area is pretty far from East Hall Corner, makes dining area the best place to stall Freddy and the best camera in FNAF 1. Anyway, thanks for watching. I've had a lot of fun making this video, and I hope you had a lot of fun watching.